The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us.
We begin this morning with a dramatic scene at a local McDonald's. It turned deadly after shots were fired inside the fast food restaurant, but it appears the man who died may have been the shooter. It all started just before noon yesterday at the McDonald's on Mount Vernon Avenue. Police say one man was hit by the gunfire and the shooter took off. Less than 10 minutes later, officers found a man matching the shooter's description in a nearby alley. Police say he ran off, eventually climbing a fence in an effort to get away, but that's what ultimately led to his death.
The officer grabbed hold of him, was able to pull him off the fence, at which time the subject struck his head on the ground.
The man died, and police say he had a gun. Investigators say they have not confirmed if he was the suspect from this shooting. The other man, who was shot inside the restaurant, was taken to a hospital and his condition is stable.
Crews had to climb a roof to put out a raging house fire near the Bluffs. You can see firefighters just feet away from those flames. This was after 7 o'clock last night on North Inyo Street. It appears the fire was solely burning inside the home. No word yet on what caused it. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Meantime, another fire broke out last night, but this time burning a garbage truck. This is in southwest Bakersfield near Ash Road and Stockdale Highway. This all started just before, around 5 p.m. Investigators are still trying to figure out how the blaze started. No injuries were reported.
17 News is your local election headquarters. There are 230 days to go until California's primary 2024 election. And in November of 2024, voters here in the Valley will choose their representative for California's 22nd congressional district. Yesterday, a big announcement about that race. 17 Cecilia Trevino has the latest.
It's been 8 months since Bakersfield native Rudy Salas lost the 22nd congressional district seat to David Valadao by a narrow 3%. Tuesday morning, Salas announced he is again headed for the 2024 elections. Valadao is a son of 2 Portuguese migrants. Salas says his Latino heritage gives him a better understanding of the 22nd district. He says Latinos have their own specific issues.
We know that a lot of Latino families here suffer from things like diabetes, right? I am going to go and fight to make sure that we lower the cost of medicine for them and for seniors.
Salas's release cites the 22nd congressional district as being just over 61% Latino population, saying it is personal interest that may have led residents to vote red in past elections. Although he did not win last year, he says those defeats help him because now more people in the community know him. As for our elected representative also heading to next year's elections, a spokesperson for Congressman Valadao said he is focused on resources for Valley farmers and protecting communities from lethal drugs. The National Republican Congressional Committee says Rudy Salas is guilty for inflation, raising gas tax, and desperate for taxpayers' salary. Cecilia Trevino, 17 News.
Making headlines around the nation, President Trump lashing out at critics after he announced he's the target of a grand jury looking into efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Now the former president's rivals are weighing in, with some becoming increasingly critical of his actions. NBC's Drew Petromo reports from Washington.
We can stand. Whatever you prefer is fine with me.
Donald Trump in a town hall on Fox News Tuesday, accusing the Department of Justice of targeting him for prosecution to keep the former president from returning to the White House.
It's interference with the election. It's election interference. Never been done like this in the history of our country, and it's a disgrace.
Trump says he got official notice from the DOJ that he's the target of a grand jury investigation into the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The letter coming from the office of Special Counsel Jack Smith.
He has made it abundantly clear that Donald Trump will be charged in connection with January 6th.
Legal analysts say charges could include inciting an insurrection and conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government. Trump already faces charges over his handling of classified documents and hush money paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Meanwhile, a grand jury in Georgia is preparing to hear evidence of 2020 election interference in that state.
We can't keep dealing with this drama. We can't keep dealing with the negativity.
Some of Trump's Republican opponents using the news to step up attacks, others echoing his claims of a political prosecution.
Today, I think the DOJ continues to try to find a way to weaponize its powers against the former president.
So far, Trump's legal woes are not harming his status as the frontrunner for the Republican nomination, setting up the prospect of high-stakes jury trials as political campaigning kicks into full gear. A federal judge in Florida will soon decide when that case involving Trump's handling of classified documents should go to trial. The case involving hush money payments to Stormy Daniels is set for trial in New York in October. Drew Petromil, NBC News, Washington.
Court watch now. The family of a Ridgecrest man who was shot and killed after raising a gun toward officers has filed a claim against the county. Kenneth Watkins was shot and killed after a 30-minute standoff on Sahara Drive back in January. The 46-year-old called 911 after firing his gun in the street and told responding deputies, quote, "I'm not coming out of this alive." The claim, a precursor to a lawsuit, says officers had sufficient time to take cover and use less lethal weapons. The claim and lawsuit seeks damages in an amount greater than $25,000. The county now has 45 days to respond.
Education news now, and we're about a month away from back to school. And while many are still soaking up what's left of summer break, others are deciding what kind of platform they want their children to learn on. 17's Aaliyah Fitzgerald has more about a different but not new option for learning this year. Aaliyah?
Yes, Alex, options are expanding and giving a choice to participate in something that we've actually seen before.
COVID-19 introduced a concept of learning from home that hadn't been seen before in the capacity that it was being used in. Though learning from home created setbacks for some students, others excelled with it and made it work for their everyday lives. So when the option of at-home virtual learning came to an end, it caused uneasiness. However, Kern County residents that are looking to enroll their 1st through 6th grader students are in luck if virtual learning is something that they want again. The Panama Buena Vista Union School District is making it where virtual independent learning is back.
The great thing is when families choose to do virtual learning, the students get a very well-rounded program. They get to participate in any of the activities at McCullough School. The only difference is they are learning online and their teacher is online.
All instruction will be done online, along with having any materials needed provided.
Some kids just thrived during distance learning, so to have a virtual program available to them is great.
To participate, go to your current school district office and request an inter-district transfer to Panama Buena Vista Union School District. For questions, call 661-831-8331 with the extension code 6290 or email questions to elhelpdesk@pbvusd.k12.ca.us.
They also instructed me that one of the best ways to prepare your children to come back to school is to sit down with them and read with them. You might be surprised at how much they learn from it, along with how many communication skills transfer over from doing so. In studio, Aaliyah Fitzgerald, 17 News.
Making news around the state this morning. Now to a follow-up on a bill seeking to classify child sex trafficking as a serious felony in California. Last week, Democrats on the Assembly Public Safety Committee blocked the legislation, only to reverse course 48 hours later, voting in favor of it after they received massive pushback and scrutiny. As Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace explains, though, the debate over this bill is far from over.
Well, the bill still has a ways to go here in the legislature. And as for how to proceed next, well, as you're about to see, that answer varies depending on who you talk to. Applause last week from Republican lawmakers just after learning SB 14 passed the Assembly Public Safety Committee. The bill seeks to classify human trafficking of anyone under the age of 18 as a serious felony in the state of California and would categorize it under the state's 3 strikes law for reoffenders. That could lead to increased jail time and penalties for convicted traffickers. When the bill first went before the committee last Tuesday,
that bill fails.
It did not pass after no Democrats voted in favor of it, but amid immediate widespread widespread scrutiny and pushback on social media and even from Democratic leaders, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Speaker Robert Rivas, the committee once again convened 48 hours later to re-vote on it. This time,
that measure passes.
It passed with bipartisan support. Republicans, including SB 14 author Bakersfield GOP Senator Shannon Grove, calling the new vote a victory.
What a day for Californians to celebrate. It's good policy. We should make sure children are protected.
At the time, Assembly Public Safety Committee Chair Reggie Jones Sawyer said he changed his vote to support the bill after he met with Grove and got his questions answered.
We got to stop these repeat offenders. They cannot get out in 1 year. We got to just stop it.
But just hours later, he tweeted this, writing the bill, quote, needs to be fixed, expressing concern it could lead to victims who may have been forced to cooperate with their traffickers to also end up behind bars.
Chairman Jones Sawyer.
Over the weekend, during a one-on-one interview with Inside California Politics co-host Frank Buckley, Jones Sawyer echoed his concerns.
The bill was flawed, and it was incomplete.
He says the only reason he voted in favor of SB 14 in the end was to move it along to the Appropriations Committee, where discussions could take place to make changes to the bill, addressing his concerns.
What we wanted to do was get this off of a political playground and get it into a policy grade playground where we can actually talk about the things that make this bill better.
But during her own interview with Frank, Senator Grove said it's unlikely victims would end up behind bars due to her bill, also mentioning for months she met with Democrats on the Senate side to work on the bill language. That's why she says SB 14 already passed the Senate with unanimous support. As for whether she'll go along with changes Jones Sawyer wants to see,
I'd like to see this bill as is in print go to the Assembly floor from appropriations into the governor's desk without amendments. I realize that the three strikes law and people don't want to put people in prison, but the bottom line is that there needs to be a carve out. If you can hijack a car and have a serious or violent felony, it should be the same for selling a child. If you sell a child for sex, it should be a serious felony.
And as for a timeline here, well, the Assembly Appropriations Committee will take up the bill when lawmakers return from their month-long summer recess in mid-August. Reporting from the state capitol, Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.